Tonight, we're live from Milan as some of Team USA's biggest stars compete. But first, that breaking news back at home, the major break in the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie. Chilling new video showing a masked person with a gun approaching the 84-year-old's home and tampering with a doorbell cam. We will take you moment by moment through all the new evidence. Our experts standing by to break it down, everything from the gloves to that backpack to even the type of gun and holster. And Savannah's new plea to anyone who may recognize this person. Plus, right now, law enforcement going door to door, what they're looking for, and how did the FBI recover this video. A former FBI agent walks us through the painstaking process. Also tonight, new Epstein revelations, what President Trump told the police chief years ago about the sex offender before he was convicted. And the artists, including Chappell Roan, now ditching their talent agency over the CEO's ties to the Epstein files. A plane carrying dozens veering off the runway and into a beach. Passengers evacuating in the water. What went wrong during takeoff? Going for gold, American Ilya Malinin wows on the ice. U.S. women's hockey dominates their chief rival. And the bizarre confession from the Olympian after he medaled that he cheated on his girlfriend. Plus, singer Britney Spears sells the rights to her music catalog, how much her hits reportedly went for. And the American breaking a nearly 50-year medal drought here at the Winter Olympics. A special edition of Top Story starts right now.
Live from the Winter Olympics in Italy, reporting tonight from Milan, here is Tom Llamas.
And good evening. We are live tonight from Milan after another thrilling day for Team USA here at the Winter Olympics. But we want to start tonight with that major breaking news back at home, the critical break in the case we've all been hoping for in the search for Nancy Guthrie. The FBI releasing these images of a person masked and carrying a gun, tampering with Nancy's security camera on the night she was taken from her home. The footage, you see it here from that front door camera, showing the chilling moments they approached the door before grabbing some shrubbery, plants, possibly wildflowers, to try to cover the camera up. Investigators now combing through every single frame for clues. We'll break down what we know about how officials were able to recover these videos and walk through every moment in detail with our team of law enforcement experts. The critical clues authorities will be looking at, and we're learning from an FBI official tonight, tips have dramatically increased since today's new images. That is just in. Our colleague Savannah today saying she still believes her mother is alive, holding on to hope on the 10th day of this search. We will have full team coverage and analysis once again tonight. Our correspondents standing by. You see them here as we bring you the latest on the investigation at this hour. We want to begin tonight in Tucson, where NBC's Liz Kreutz leads us off again.
Tonight, the first chilling images shedding light on what happened at Nancy Guthrie's house the night she was abducted. In this disturbing Nest camera surveillance footage released by the FBI today, you can see a masked person walk up to Nancy's front door and begin tampering with the camera around the time Nancy disappeared. The person has a gun holstered to their waist and is wearing gloves and a fully stuffed backpack. They then stop, turn around, and begin searching for something, eventually grabbing a handful of flowers from the yard, which they then use to block the view of the security camera as they disable it. This third video shows the person slightly hunched over as they walk up to the door.
This is the game changer we were waiting for, more than anything, more than, ballistics, more than other types of, cell phone data. This is the one. The video so often is what breaks the case open.
While none of the videos or images show the suspect's face, there are many defining features you can see that could help investigators and the public figure out who this person is. Here, there appears to be facial hair around the mouth, and here, distinctive shaped eyebrows showing through the eye holes of the mask. The person's clothes may also be a clue: light-colored running shoes, this zip-up jacket, and reflectors on the backpack. In this photo, the glare suggests there could be a flashlight in the person's mouth as they hold up those flowers in front of the camera. Since Nancy's disappearance 10 days ago, investigators have been working to recover any surveillance footage from her home, some of which the FBI says may have been lost, corrupted, or inaccessible due to a variety of factors, including the removal of recording devices. Today, the agency says by working with private sector partners, it was finally able to uncover these previously inaccessible new images.
Notice the way that someone's posture or the way they move, their hand gestures. all of that somebody has seen. This person has not gone their entire life never interacting with others, family members, friends, colleagues, people that know him know who he is. They just have to report it.
That's exactly what the FBI and the Guthrie family are hoping for. Savannah posting the new images saying someone out there recognizes this person. We believe she is still out there. Bring her home.
And Liz Croyce joins us once again live from outside Nancy Guthrie's home. Liz, investigators will be able to glean some real descriptive clues from those videos.
Yeah, they really are, Tom. Experts say that investigators are going to be able to probably approximate this person's height and weight based on how they look in the video compared to some of the other objects in the video, like the bricks. They're also probably going to be able to glean something about how this person walks, the clothing that they're wearing. All of these things are major clues, giving the Guthrie family a lot of hope tonight. And Tom, we should also point out that right now we are seeing investigators going door to door in the neighborhood around her daughter Annie's home. And we've also heard that there are more businesses that have been contacted by Tucson police today that are being asked to show their surveillance video from 11:30 at night to 9:30 a.m., that overnight hours that Nancy went missing. Tom.
And we know those tips are now pouring in with those new images and the video. All right, Liz, we thank you for that. NBC National Law Enforcement and Intelligence correspondent Tom Winter joins us now for more on these chilling videos. Tom, it had been 10 days. Investigators and the Guthrie family really needed some type of break in the case. And sometimes we've seen this, and I know you've covered these cases before, where it's taken a long time, there's been a lapse of time, and then something just breaks and the investigation can take off. We don't know if that's these videos, but it possibly could be, right, Tom?
Tom, what you've just described is exactly where this investigation stands tonight. Things are moving quickly on the ground in Arizona, and there's a lot of law enforcement activity. As you just alluded to there in a reporting of our colleague Kelly O'Donnell from the Justice Department, that there has been a significant increase in tips tonight. Once those videos were released, the phones of law enforcement started ringing off the hook effectively, providing new information, providing people saying who they think this individual is, other sorts of tips. Those are being prioritized. Those are being worked as we speak. As we speak, they are also in the process of combing through more surveillance video. There's been a real uptick in that today. Now that they kind of know who they're looking for, or they think they know who they're looking for as the subject of this investigation, some of that kind of shoe leather work of going from business to business, door to door, looking for potential video. And we started reporting on that in a story we broke on Nightly News last Friday, the idea that they were potentially looking for a vehicle. Well, all those types of efforts have really ramped up here in the last 12 to 24 hours. And as we just discussed on Nightly News, to expand on it, some new information. Yes, law enforcement had this video before releasing it. That's not a surprise to anybody. But the fact of the matter is that they would have been able to look into some of the things that we've been talking about, the things you see in this video, starting with that gun that's out in the middle of it, that backpack and other items of clothing. Clearly, they've been focused on that, and they'll go ahead and dig through that for sure.
Tom Winter for us, part of our team that has been relentless in covering this very tough story for our newsroom and, of course, for the Guthrie family. Tom, we thank you. Tonight, we have a panel of law enforcement experts. Terry Monahan, a former chief of the department for the NYPD, a good friend of Top Story. John Monahan, a retired captain, also with the NYPD. You know him from the show. And Evie Pomporas, former Secret Service special agent and an NBC News law enforcement analyst. I thank you all for joining us tonight on this important night. Terry, I want you to break down what you see in this video. You're an investigator. You're somebody with the knowledge. You're somebody who has looked at videos like this. What stands out to you, and walk our viewers through it, please?
The type of clothing that the individual is wearing. Those gloves, very distinctive type gloves. Who has ever seen someone with those gloves in the Arizona area? Not common gloves to be worn. The jacket is something that stands out. Who has seen someone with that jacket somewhere on the streets, on social media? Are there cars that were in the area where now you can look at that individual's social media to see if they have that sort of jacket? If they're skiing at one point with gloves like that on, you're looking at the way that individual walks, his gait. You can tell a person, everyone walks differently. If there's anyone that they have as a suspect right now, they're going to compare the gait of this individual with that suspect. They'll start narrowing the gap. And, of course, the phone calls are coming in right now. People have seen that jacket. People have seen people with those gloves, seen those sort of pants. It's a lot of legwork now for the cops to go and trace each one of these sort of things. it's a big break. It's something to work on. It's going to bring new leads, and it's going to be a lot of work for investigators just to move through it.
John, is this the first mistake that we've seen this criminal make? He sort of seems startled by, and I say he, it could be a she, the suspect seems startled by that Ring camera and maybe the light that was shined on them. They turn around, they grab some shrubbery to try to cover up the camera, some wildflowers. It didn't seem like they had this part planned out.
Doesn't seem that way, you're right. Although it did seem to me like he knew there was a camera there. The way he walked up with his head down and he turned to his right to avoid the lens, and he went right to it with his glove. He seemed to know there was one there. The grabbing of the foliage, that really tells you how unprepared this guy was. I really think, though, based on what's been said, there'll be an arrest soon. Somebody's going to recognize this guy. And, you know, it's interesting, Tom. If he gets arrested and we don't find Mrs. Guthrie right away, interesting point here, a coincidental thing. The Miranda warnings, everybody knows when the police lock someone up, they got to read him his rights, right? That's what the Miranda rule is. That case, that landmark case, started in Arizona in 1966. That's where Miranda came from. If he gets arrested and we don't find Mrs. Guthrie, we don't have to give him an attorney. We can question him. It's called the emergency public safety exception. So if they lock him up, he doesn't have a right to an attorney until we find her. So they can question him once they arrest him. But this boy there, the gun, I don't know anybody that has been trained to carry a gun in that manner. If there's a unit or a group out there that trains their people that way, they need to call, give us a list of membership. A gun range in the area, is there any range master that remembers seeing someone carrying their pistol in that way? It's a unique way. No one trains to carry a gun that way. And he's right-handed, too. Someone will recognize
I wanted to talk to you about the gun. You know, it looks like at times this person is a professional, but you guys are the experts. It looks like some mistakes were made. The gun there in the front part of you see it right here in this zoom in here that our director is doing. This is great. You see the gun right in the middle of his pants. That seems somewhat unusual to me. He's also pretty buttoned up. He's got the jacket all the way zipped up, that heavy backpack as well. He can't really move too fast or too much there. Evie, what are you noticing?
I totally agree about the gun, just the placement. It seems very amateurish, the way it's gone about. Even him showing up and being surprised with the Ring camera, the Nest camera, and then trying to figure out how to cover it up. All those things are indicative of a level of maybe not as prepared. I will say this, I see he's bundled up, and he's probably thinking, hey, DNA, I don't want to leave anything behind. But you know what I noticed? He's got a flashlight, it looks like, in his mouth. So if he's moving that flashlight in and out of his mouth, I'm thinking transfer of saliva and DNA, and we haven't talked about this yet, but that would be something, if you can find traces of what he touched, or what he, where he was inside the house, you know, you can use that DNA and, you know, start moving out people that visit the home, anybody that works around the home, family and friends, and just start to see maybe if you have any DNA hits on that aspect over there.
Yeah, the flashlight in the mouth is a little strange because you never really see him put anything into his mouth and then his mouth sort of lights up like that. That is somewhat strange. John, I'm going to go back to you for a second here. As he sort of approaches this house, from what we've been told, there was no sign of a break-in, right? They didn't have anything on the door that looked like it had been tampered with or broken into or glass broken. What do you think happened from where this video cuts off and to where Nancy Guthrie disappears?
It's, you know, there's a good 45 minutes that he's there, right? Between the time that camera is disabled and then she is separated from, or her heart monitor tells us she was separated from her iPhone. I wonder what he was doing in there. Did she open the door for him? Maybe he was known to her. You know what, Tom? There's somebody in Nancy Guthrie's circle of family and friends. They may not be aware of the fact that they're connected to this guy, but there's going to be a connection here, either direct or indirect. I mean, I know she took an Uber to her daughter's house the day she was last seen. How did she get to those church services every week? And, you know, they called right away. My mom missed Mass now and again. I didn't get a call immediately. Was there an underlying concern that they have yet to voice to us? Was there someone in their community, in the area? There may be a connection, and someone's going to either recognize him or, through a lot of re-interviewing of all her cohorts at the church, especially, I think, you know, this didn't start with a 911 call. This started with a call from her church group. You start at the beginning. I would re-interview everybody in that church group.
Right. Terry, if we can get into sort of the mindset of this criminal. I know from covering crime for a long time, there's a major difference between a cat burglar and an armed robber, right? An armed robber is looking for a confrontation. They're not afraid of a confrontation. Clearly this man, or this, I keep saying man, this criminal, with his backpack filled and his gun, he was looking for some type of confrontation here, right? He wasn't afraid of some type of confrontation. What else can you sort of glean from what he had, or what it looked like he had in the backpack and the way he's dressed?
I'm looking at this whole thing, and a lot of it I'm not sure of. The idea of that gun in the front, the way he bent down, it's almost like he wanted the camera to pick up that gun so someone would think he's going into the house with the gun. A gun with those sort of gloves is useless. You're not getting that gun out. You're not going to be able to utilize that gun at all while you have those gloves on. It looks to me that this person wanted that camera to pick something up of him. I could be wrong. It's just, he's well covered. He knew there's a camera.
It's a huge mistake, right? Yeah. Terry, just it almost seems like a very strange mistake. If someone planned this out, how could they not notice that camera if they had really planned this out? The other question I have, Terry, is, and I keep going back to this, an 84-year-old woman startled out of her bed, right? This guy's dressed the way he is. You can't imagine in any world she's opening the door to this person.
Did he go into the door dressed like that, or did he just approach the camera dressed like that and back away and come in differently, where she would know the person? That's, you know, we don't see him entering. We don't know how he gets in. Is he looking to go to this camera to make it look as the guy with a gun coming into the house and then walks away and comes back in a different attire? I mean, I'm not sure, but that's something I would be looking at in one of these type of cases.
Yeah.
I would not look at this as, oh, my God, this is a guy coming in with a gun to the house. I'd be a little skeptical of it.
Yeah. Evie, you know, and we're doing a lot of sort of trying to speculate here, trying to figure out what's going on. There's really not a lot we know. Do you think there's parts of these videos that the FBI has not released for whatever reason, or do you think they would have gotten all this data and put it all out there? Do you think maybe there's something they possibly could still be holding on to because it could be sort of, you know, an ace up their sleeve, whether it be a car or something else that he showed his hand a little bit?
You know, I don't want to say 100%, but 99.9% they've not released everything. You have to think about it this way. If they're releasing this stuff, it means the people who have committed this crime are tracking the news, and they're watching and they're looking. There's also some things you don't want the public to know, some information that you want to hold on so that when you are interviewing suspects or potential suspects, that they don't have all the information, because you want to know what is it that we haven't released that they might share. So you can absolutely kind of bank and guarantee on that. This video footage is specific because they need help. What are we in here? Day 10? I have to say that's not a great thing. And the goal here is to find Nancy, to find her and make sure she's okay, not to solve it. They're gonna solve it. It's right now, it's her physical safety. So for them to be releasing this video footage, it means they need help. When you're working an investigation, I don't want the public involved. I really don't, unless I need them. Because you know what happens? You get a lot of noise. You get a lot of chatter. Even coming in here, looking through the social media and try to read everything. Everybody's giving their opinion, sharing information, pointing fingers. It's going to create a big mess. Now, are you going to get an influx? You're actually going to get an onslaught of information. One, because this isn't your typical case. It's a high-profile case. It's someone who's connected to somebody who's very well-known, very well famous. And so that's going to also drive in just a slew of people who probably have no good information, but you have to sit, FBI has to sit and go through all these leads and figure out, is this legit? Is this not? Do I have the manpower to send people out to this? It's a difficult thing, and if I don't send somebody out, am I risking not getting some information? Am I making a mistake? You're probably looking at hundreds or thousands and thousands of people putting in. This is difficult.
Yeah. John, you know, up until this point, we had no idea who committed this crime. But there are some people and some crimes that can now be ruled out. And what I mean by that is when you see this video, this person knew sort of exactly who they were targeting and what they were doing. They were not just trying to see if maybe that door was unlocked and try to maybe rob an elderly person in the middle of the night who maybe not had been home, maybe was traveling. It looks like this person is well prepared and they know what they're getting into.
I agree. And he knows where he is. He knows whose house that is. I really think when we find this guy, there's going to be a connection. somewhere in the circle of family and friends of Mrs. Guthrie, there's going to be a connection to this guy. And you talk about the cameras. Wasn't there more than one? Like you said about you withhold this. First, you examine it. If it gives you an identification, you run with that. If it doesn't, then you can go public with it. It's like if they do identify this guy, you don't go public with that information until you've exhausted every attempt to capture him. Once you hit a dead end there, you realize we can't find him, then you go public with his identity. But I'd say he's known to someone, and Terry, they may not realize it yet. Yeah. A lot of good re-interviews may unearth that.
Terry, I'm going to give you the last word here. There have been a lot of law enforcement officers, local PD, state police, obviously the FBI, that have been working this case around the clock. What does a break in the case like this do to sort of reinvigorate, if you will, all those investigators that are on the ground?
There's a lot more work to be done. Like you said earlier, tips are now coming in. It's where that backpack is. People are going to see things, and it's got to be investigated. There'll be 1,000 tips coming in. 990 of them may be useless, but that 10 may be good. That's going to lead it. So it's a lot of groundwork. Everyone's going to be taking a little piece of it, investigating it, following it up. They're going to sit together, coordinate, and see where they are. Listen, there's stuff, I'm sure. There's LPRs. There's some phone trackings out there. All those pieces that haven't been released are going to be put together, and a lot of good investigative work. And at some point, we'll see who this individual is.
All right, Terry, John, and Evie, we thank you so much. You guys are the best. We always thank you for your help in breaking down this video. I do want to bring in NBC's Chief Justice and National Affairs correspondent, Kelly O'Donnell, who is now following this investigation closely from Tucson. Kelly, I know you broke some news earlier in the night about those tips pouring in. Let me know what you've been hearing from your sources.
Well, we've had a lot of conversations today, Tom, and sources are indicating that tips have dramatically increased. You would expect that, but that is a sign that the images that have been put out, that we have given some exposure to and are a part of a new FBI website, are in fact triggering the public to call, to send in tips through the website, to engage on this. And as your guest was just indicating, the volume can mean there's a lot that won't be fruitful, but within that, there could be something that does give law enforcement that needed answer, that next step to put together some of these clues. It is so significant that these images were recoverable and that it gives people a chance to assess for themselves. They know that person. They get a sense of the person's bearing and manner and movement, might have an idea about the backpack or the clothing. Any of those things can be the kind of link that law enforcement is looking at. So we've been told that there's a lot of activity happening behind the scenes. Those tips are coming in and they are being dealt with. There is a 24-hour command center that is in Tucson. And we also had a post just a short time ago from Kash Patel, the FBI director. He was in Arizona for unrelated law enforcement meetings. And of course, with the proximity, he went to engage with the Trump administration team, as well as the Tucson command center. So a photo that he's put out, that photo does have some alterations in it to block the names of the personnel around the table. But that gives you a sense of how Patel is trying to connect himself to this investigation and how important it is to demonstrate the resources going all the way to the White House. The president, through his spokesman today, Caroline Leavitt, talked about being engaged and looking at these pictures. There's a lot of investment at the federal level in trying to resolve this case for all the obvious reasons. A family that is waiting for answers, and all of the law enforcement, county and state and federal partners who want to see a resolution. Tom?
Yeah, Kelly, before you go, you were part of our reporting team that got first word that these images may be coming. We can't reveal our sources, right? It's how we protect our sources. It's how we get information, by building that trust. But peel back the curtain for our viewers a little bit. Talk to me about the moments, right, those minutes and hours when you started to hear that possibly there were some images and possibly a video coming out from the house.
Well, part of what we do is we're engaged with our sources all the time. And when there is a sense of movement, activity in the case, that certainly gets us engaged as well. And not knowing initially what specifics would be there, but knowing something was coming. That helps us to prepare and helps us to get our editorial assets in place. And it was clear to me in talking with sources, they had been working through the night. There were good and not so good moments where they were trying to access this information. Things like, at first it was still images. Could they get actual video? That happened in another step. Could they then take that raw material and put it into a form that they could post online? This was not just simply going to an existing video. They had to extract it in ways that I honestly don't understand. But technical minds have been on this. And so there was a sense in talking with sources about how they felt they had a lead and they were trying to pull it in. And obviously they did, with initially 4 still images, then videos, and then more, and then trying to look for clues where they would give us guidance based on what they think we should be looking at in that video. Tom?
Kelly O'Donnell, we thank you for all that reporting as well. Kelly, part of the team that is there in Tucson. As Kelly was just talking about this, recovering that critical photographic and video evidence took 10 days. But how did the FBI do it when the camera apparently wasn't connected to the cloud? Here's Tom Costello explaining.
Investigators had a big challenge, recovering the video from the Google Nest camera that had been taken and disconnected from the home's Wi-Fi. FBI Director Kash Patel said investigators worked with private companies, and the video was recovered from residual data located in back-end systems.
I imagine they've had them for the last 24 to 36 hours.
Tim Gallagher is the former special agent in charge of FBI New Jersey, who says investigators had to recover the images even though the camera wasn't connected to the cloud. If Nancy Guthrie wasn't paying for the cloud subscription, how did the FBI get the video off the feed?
Between the data getting to the server and the camera, there's stops in between, and there's going to be pieces of that data possibly that could be recovered. And from what it appears here, that's exactly what the FBI did.
Cybersecurity experts say the public really doesn't know what data tech companies are gathering without telling the public.
When you record data, it can actually show up in a couple of places. It can also be stored on a hard disk. It can be stored on the device itself. It can be stored in the cloud. It can be stored in a lot of places that sometimes are transient. So that is, they're stored there temporarily until something comes and flushes it away.
They were able to recover data from that, data that they thought was overwritten, and the bad guy may have thought was overwritten for life. The FBI can raise it back up.
Tom, some fascinating reporting there. You know, the FBI, it shows sort of how sophisticated some of their investigative techniques can be.
Yeah. Well, listen, the FBI lab is in Quantico, Virginia. In this case, we know that they were working closely with tech companies. We're led to believe, obviously, that would include Google, because Google makes the Nest. Google's not responding to an exact, precise response to whether they, in fact, did help the FBI. But cyber pros say the FBI also may not want to fully reveal all of their techniques, since they may also use some of those techniques in espionage investigations. But clearly, this is exactly the kind of breakthrough they needed, and it may well pay off very quickly.
Tom Costello, we thank you for that. Coming up tonight, still here on Top Story, the latest reaction to those new documents in the Epstein files, what they show about President Trump's warning to police 2 decades ago about Jeffrey Epstein. Stay with us. We're back now with new revelations from the Epstein files, including a document showing how President Trump raised alarms about Epstein and co-conspirator Ghislaine Maxwell's crimes as far back as 20 years ago. Hallie Jackson has the report.
Newly released documents tonight say President Trump personally warned officials about Jeffrey Epstein decades ago. An FBI interview summary describing how President Trump called the then Palm Beach police chief to tell him, "Thank goodness you're stopping Jeffrey Epstein. Everyone has known he's been doing this." Adding people in New York knew Epstein was disgusting.
He kicked Jeffrey Epstein out of his Mar-a-Lago club because Jeffrey Epstein was a creep, and that remains true. And this call, if it did happen, corroborates exactly what President Trump has said from the beginning.
But President Trump said this in 2019.
No, I had no idea. I had no idea.
The former Palm Beach police chief, Michael Ryder, not commenting to NBC News, but telling the Miami Herald the interview with Donald Trump happened in the summer of 2006. According to the document, the president told Ryder he was around Epstein once when teenagers were present, and Mr. Trump said he got the hell out of there, and added about Epstein's convicted co-conspirator Ghislaine Maxwell, she is evil and to focus on her. Newly released video shows Maxwell, now in prison, declining to answer lawmaker questions Monday.
I invoke my Fifth Amendment right to silence.
It's coming as Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick's under fire for his connection to Epstein, his former next-door neighbor, last year saying this about a 2005 visit.
My wife and I decided that I will never be in the room with that disgusting person ever again.
But DOJ records show Lutnick did interact with Epstein again.
Did you, in fact, make the visit to Jeffrey Epstein's private island?
I did have lunch with him as I was on a boat going across on a family vacation. My wife was with me, as were my 4 children and nannies.
Lutnick has not been accused of wrongdoing in connection with Epstein, saying today he had no relationship with and barely anything to do with Epstein. Tom?
Hallie Jackson for us tonight. Hallie, thank you. Tonight, the entertainment industry feeling the impacts of the latest Epstein file dump. High-profile musicians, including Chappell Roan, Dropkick Murphys, and Orville Peck, all announcing they are dropping their talent agency, led by this man, Casey Wasserman, who appeared in the latest Epstein file release, emailing with Ghislaine Maxwell in 2003, writing, "What do I have to do to see you in a tight leather outfit?" We should note these documents are all dated before Epstein was convicted. Wasserman told The Hollywood Reporter he deeply regrets the correspondence and that he, quote, never had a personal or business relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. It comes at a pivotal time for Wasserman, who faces growing calls to step down as the chair of the 2028 Los Angeles Olympics Committee. Here to discuss is Dominic Patton, executive editor at Deadline. Dominic, always great to see you here on Top Story. NBC has reached out to the Olympic Committee, and we have not heard back, but you have new reporting on Wasserman, specifically on his role as Olympic chair?
Yes, we do, Tom. You know, the Olympics obviously are in the air. You're at the Olympics in Italy. What we're hearing is there are rumblings among the LA 28 board to find a new, perhaps a temporary chairman for the Olympic Committee out here in Los Angeles. Wasserman is not only losing artists from the music division of his company. There is talk of losing agents. There is talk of other companies coming in to buy it. There's also talk of other parts of that empire now falling or being opened up to purchase. There's also him now. He has already been exited a sporting event for next week that he was going to be a part of with Telemundo. There's a fundraiser here that is occurring where they're scrambling to find out what to do. We know that Casey Wasserman is back in L.A. He's making calls. He's putting on a charm offensive. But right now we're hearing a very unusual person might be being picked to take over, and that's former House Speaker Kevin McCarthy.
Wow, that would be a very different pick, but again, from California there on the Republican side, so that would be a little different. Wasserman's agency represents a number of major artists, from Ed Sheeran to Coldplay. You've reported extensively on the big names in music speaking out. I mean, do these acts stay with him? Does he have the juice to keep them, or do you think this is the genie's out of the bottle and this is not coming back?
Well, I think in many ways, Tom, it is, as all things are, complex, but the genie is fundamentally out of the bottle. What is happening here right now behind the scenes, what we're hearing is while you've had big stars like Chappell and stars like the Dropkick Murphys and Orville Peck already make moves, and many others, there are some larger stars as well as stars under the entertainment management company that he owns as well, who are now talking to their agents and talking to their other representatives to find a way that they can either segue out of this or find a way that the company itself can segue. One artist in particular talked about how hard it is for them to leave a company because they need things like health care and what have you, which, of course, musicians do not get in this country as a profession. All of this is happening, as I said, with the backdrop of the LA 28 board now looking at former Speaker McCarthy. And here's why that's very important. For the obvious reason is Speaker McCarthy, who was brought on as a member of the board in November, as well as various other MAGA-related or MAGA-adjacent individuals, is one of the few people who could probably stop President Trump from pulling out funding for the LA Games in retribution for Wasserman, who has spent a lot of time cozying up to the president, from leaving. The other thing, and this will be truly remarkable to many people, Kevin McCarthy is actually quite close with Mayor Karen Bass. Now, very different politically, clearly, but as members of the California delegation for many years, they developed a friendship. One person compared it to me as what Justice Ginsburg and Justice Scalia used to have. They didn't agree on anything, but they liked a lot of the same things. So he could be at least a temporary Band-Aid on this. There's also talk of former Laker owners Jeannie Buss and also the gentleman who is currently the CEO of the Olympic Committee, organizing committee itself. But either way, there is a lot of moving pieces happening here with Wasserman. Almost all of it as fallout from the Epstein files. And as a couple of sources told me, they're wondering what's going to happen next. What are we next going to discover?
Dominic Patton, always breaking a lot of news. Dominic, we appreciate you. Always love having you on the show. Let's turn to Top Stories news feed now. Jury selection beginning today in the murder trial of a Utah mother charged with fatally poisoning her husband. Prosecutors say Corey Richin spiked his drink with a deadly dose of fentanyl in 2022. Then the 35-year-old wrote a children's book about grieving after her husband's death. She pleaded not guilty to all charges. The trial is set to start later this month. The manhunt is underway right now for two inmates who escaped from a jail in South Georgia. Both inmates were in custody on multiple charges. You see them here, including aggravated assault and murder. One of them charged in the murder of a 5-year-old. Authorities say it appears the inmate escaped through a maintenance door on the ceiling of the building that wasn't locked properly. All right, shocking video out of California showing people being tossed into the ocean when their boat capsized. You can see it here. The boat's cruising off the coast of Santa Cruz before a powerful wave sweeps it up and just tips it upside down. Inside that boat, a family of 6, including children ages 3 to 9, all wearing life vests, but their parents reportedly were not. First responders, lifeguards, even surfers helped rescue that family. Pop star Britney Spears has just sold the rights to her music catalog, and the deal, get this, worth around $200 million. That according to a source familiar with the agreement who spoke to NBC News. They say Spears sold her catalog to the music publishing company Primary Wave. It includes her iconic hits like Oops, I Did It Again, Baby One More Time, and Oh Yeah, Give Me More. Okay, now to the newly unsealed court documents revealing what led to the FBI's raid of an election office in Fulton County, Georgia. The FBI seizing ballots from the 2020 election there last month. NBC's Gabe Gutierrez joins us from the White House with more. And Gabe, we know now what the judge saw before approving the search?
Yeah, that's right, Tom. This all comes from a newly revealed search warrant application where the FBI special agent in charge says the investigation originated from a referral sent by Kurt Olson. Now, President Trump has appointed him Director of Election Security and Integrity. Olson took part in the Stop the Steal campaign more than 5 years ago. He's been previously sanctioned by a federal judge for making false, misleading, and unsupported factual assertions. The affidavit says this investigation is focused on deficiencies and defects in 2020 tabulations that it says Fulton County has acknowledged, and whether they were intentional acts that violated the law. Now, tonight, Georgia's Republican Secretary of State is calling the investigation baseless and repackaged claims, Tom.
And Gabe, I know you're reporting there's an end there. This comes as President Trump is instructing other government agencies to provide info on the 2020 election?
Yeah, that's right. So as we understand it, President Trump has directed the CIA and other spy agencies to hand over intelligence when it comes to the 2020 election. Now, that's according to a U.S. intelligence official and a person with knowledge of the matter. Now, the White House is saying that the president can hand over classified material to whoever he deems necessary, and that the administration is focused on the integrity of the election system. But the White House wouldn't answer specific questions on whether Olson was focusing on just the 2020 election or whether he would also focus on future elections. Tom.
Gabe Gutierrez first at the White House. Gabe, good to see you there. Next tonight to the Capitol Hill in the standoff over funding for the Department of Homeland Security, a deal that would need to be resolved before Friday to avoid another partial government shutdown. It comes as top DHS officials appeared before Congress, grilled over the immigration crackdown. NBC's Melanie Zanona is on the Hill for us tonight. Melanie, what are you hearing from lawmakers, right, both Democrats and Republicans, about a deal getting done at least before Friday?
Well, Tom, it's not looking promising. And over the last 24 hours, there was a notable shift in tone. I was hearing a lot more optimism from lawmakers yesterday than I was hearing today. Now, the two sides have been trading offers, but the latest counterproposal from the White House was almost instantly rejected by Democrats, who said that is a not serious proposal. And so even if they are able to somehow reach a deal, at least in principle, by Friday, it is almost logistically impossible for both chambers to be able to pass a deal by the funding deadline, which is why, actually, just today, GOP leadership did officially tee up a Thursday vote for a very short-term funding patch for the Department of Homeland Security. But even that, Tom, is in doubt because Democrats are so dug in over this issue. And so it is very likely that the DHS is going to shut down Friday at midnight.
Okay, we'll stay on top of that. Democrats want dramatic changes to ICE operations, right? Just last week, President Trump told me inside the Oval Office that he thinks immigration officers could have used a softer touch or needed to, at least in the future. Did this hearing with DHS officials help advance any discussions on what changes both sides would be open to?
Well, if anything, I think it really exposed where the fault lines are going to be, because one of the chief demands from Democrats is that ICE agents be prohibited from wearing masks. They say this is essential for accountability, for building trust in communities. But during the hearing, the acting head of ICE repeatedly refused to make that commitment. He said he's worried about agents and their families, frankly, being doxxed and exposed. So this clearly is going to be a red line for Republicans in these negotiations, and it signals what a tough path ahead there is for this ongoing debate on Capitol Hill. Tom.
Melanie, before you go, as we head into that weekend again where there may be a shutdown, we're getting sort of memories of just a couple or a week ago, 2 weeks ago. When will the deadline be? I mean, when should people that are watching this show and following the news know if there's a deal or not a deal by Friday?
The deadline is Friday at midnight. This would just be a shutdown, though, of the Department of Homeland Security, because Congress did already pass long-term funding bills for the rest of the government. But the DHS is still such an important agency. It houses the TSA, which is responsible for air travel. It also has FEMA, which is critical for disaster aid. But one thing that won't be impacted, Tom, is ICE, because it is already funded through the big tax law that Republicans passed last summer. So, ironically, ICE would probably be hit the hardest, or least hardest, of all these agencies.
All right, Melanie Zanona, always great to see you there for us on Capitol Hill. Melanie, thank you. Okay, we're going to head overseas now with Top Stories Global Watch. We start in Somalia, where a plane ended up in the ocean after making an emergency crash landing. Here you can see that airplane in shallow water with its wing appearing to be ripped off. Authorities say it overshot the runway after a technical problem shortly after takeoff. The plane was carrying 55 passengers and crew members. We're told none of them were hurt. That's incredible. In Australia, violent clashes erupting between protesters and police as demonstrators rally against the Israeli president's visit to that country. Police say they've arrested nearly 30 people, including 10 who allegedly assaulted officers. Authorities reportedly using pepper spray and tear gas to break up the crowds. Australian leaders now calling on protests to remain calm and peaceful. And a gold pendant belonging to King Henry VIII of England that was lost for centuries has now been found and is set to go on display at a British museum. Here you can see the 24-karat golden heart. It's linked to Henry's marriage to his first wife, Catherine of Aragon. The museum says it bought the piece for nearly $5 million after someone found it in a field with a metal detector back in 2019. When we come back tonight here from Milan, full coverage of the Winter Olympics. From figure skating to hockey to skiing, Team USA on a march towards more gold, plus the stunning moment one athlete revealed live on the air he had cheated on his girlfriend. All the moments you need to know about next. We are back now with our special coverage of the Winter Olympic Games here in Milan. At the Terrazza Martini, it's been a busy day for Team USA. American curlers snagging a historic medal in the mixed doubles event, while the women's hockey team squared off against rival Canada. And, of course, all eyes on the men's ice skating competition, where American star Ilya Malinin begins his quest for individual gold.
Tonight, quad god Ilya Malinin showing why he's the gold medal favorite, jumping and flipping his way to first place in the short program.
The quad god says tonight, I own this Olympic ice.
And in women's hockey, Team USA moving on in the competition after dominating its rival Canada.
Edwards moving in, she scores!
It was a shutout game, the U.S. winning 5-0, while in Cortina,
Mikaela Shiffrin leaning off the podium in fourth.
Disappointment for another one of Team USA's stars. Mikaela Shiffrin finishing off the podium in her first race, team combined.
Molson to the line.
But another pair of Americans, Paula Molson and Jackie Wiles, did land on the podium with a bronze. That wasn't the only surprise today.
Ben Ogden becomes the second American man to ever win a cross-country medal at the Olympic Winter Games.
Cross-country skier Ben Ogden ended a nearly 50-year medal drought for the American men. One of 3 silvers for Team USA today.
Perfect landing for the American Alex Hall.
Including Corey Dropkin and Corey Teese in mixed doubles curling. But Norwegian biathlete Sturla Holm Lagride called this the worst week of his life. After winning bronze today, he made a stunning confession, choking up as he shared he'd cheated on his girlfriend. He says he told her a week ago and she broke up with him.
Today I made the choice to tell the world what I did. I don't want to think I didn't try everything to get her back.
And here's a look at where the medal count stands tonight. Team USA moving up the ranks with Norway, host country Italy, and Japan still ahead in the overall medal count. And joining us now to break down the major headlines of the day, Rebecca Lowe. She's host of NBC's daytime coverage of the Olympics and an old friend, a top story. You may remember her from the Paris days. Rebecca, it's so great to see you.
You too, Tom. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here. So we're going to talk women's hockey, right?
Okay.
And this match, it was really great for Team USA. At least that's what it looked like early on, right? They were so strong. A lot of people think this might be a preview of the gold medal match. 2 great teams here, but wow, Team USA looks good.
It's really interesting because I think it should be a preview of the gold medal match, but I don't think anyone quite saw the gap between the 2 teams being as big as maybe we saw at times, certainly in this game. So Canada are going to have a lot to prove as they head towards that gold medal match. And of course, they're a game behind Team USA because their first game was having to be rearranged because the Finnish team were so sick. So that was an interesting one. There's a lot of confidence now for Team USA going in, going further forward.
We're going to have a little bit more on Haley winning her Wild brothers. I'm sure you've seen them in the stands. They're pretty incredible. We're going to have that later in the show. I want to talk curling now. A little bit of a disappointment. We love all the medals.
Yeah.
Team USA getting that silver, clinching it. They lost to the team from Sweden. What happened here? It was the mixed doubles.
It was the mixed doubles, and it's the first medal we've ever had in mixed doubles, so that's pretty good.
Hey, we'll take it, right?
But we'll take it. It's also the first in Corey Teese, the female of the 2.
Yeah.
That's the first ever female, first ever women's medal we've ever had, Team USA, at the Winter Olympics. So we'll take that as well. And I think the other thing is that Duluth in Minnesota, where they're from, I think they would have probably taken just something. Just give us a silver, give us a gold, and it was close. It was close against Sweden, but these 2 have really done Team USA proud since coming.
I am, and I should say I was just being a little cheeky, as you would say. I think they've done an incredible job. And that silver medal, first ever, it's awesome. I know it's early, but I'm looking at that medal count just before you came up here, and I'm seeing a lot of other countries on top of Team USA right now.
Don't worry, Tom.
Okay, because we're used to dominating.
We've got some big hitters.
Okay,
I want to
make sure.
Don't worry.
Tomorrow's another action-packed day, Rebecca.
Yes.
What can our viewers expect?
Right, well, one of the big hitters tomorrow, Jordan Stolz. Your viewers may have heard of him. He could get as many as 4 medals here, maybe as many as 4 gold medals. He goes in the 1,000 meters tomorrow. That's a big, big deal. He's 20 years of age. He learned to skate on his pond that froze over in his backyard in Wisconsin. He is a phenom, a revelation, a once-in-a-generation athlete. Jordan Stolz tomorrow, and I think we're going to move up that medal table.
We are. Speaking of medals, we're not there yet, but Friday we may be. I'm talking about the end of the men's figure skating, at least for Ilya Malinin. We've been watching him tonight. So incredible. The guy's just got, I called it swagger yesterday, but on the ice. He's got the backflip, but when you thought, he does the quad axel?
Quad axel, the only one to do it in competition. I know, absolutely crazy. Something that Scott Hamilton, our expert in figure skating, told me yesterday on the show. He never thought he'd see in his lifetime somebody land a quad axel. So he can also, if he wants to on Friday in the free skate, land 7 quad jumps. I mean, that is beyond what anyone has ever thought would ever happen at the Olympics. So as long as he's on his game, which he will be because he means business, he's good to go.
We watch these historical moments. Sometimes they happen, sometimes they don't. For these Winter Olympics, that is one of the events on Friday night you got to tune in for, right?
Absolutely. Ilya Malinin is going to make history. People who watch figure skating once every 4 years, even those people who maybe don't watch it in between, they will see and recognize greatness when they're watching Ilya Malinin.
Speaking of greatness, Rebecca, I hope you'll join us again. I know you're busy anchoring daytime coverage of the Olympics, but it's so fun to have you here on Top Story, so thank you.
No, thank you. Thanks, Tom.
All right, Rebecca, we'll see you soon. When we come back tonight here on Top Story, more of our coverage of the Winter Olympic Games, including the trio of brothers, bringing the energy right here in Milan as they cheer on their sister out on the ice. That's next. Finally tonight, the brothers of Team USA hockey player Haley Wynn showing up in a big way. Decked out in American flags, the trio is bringing the energy to Milan and going viral for it as they watch their sister and her teammates go for the gold.
You could say they're winning the Olympics. Ryan, Casey, and Tommy Wynn, big brothers to Team USA hockey star Haley Wynn.
It's Haley Wynn.
Now, fan favorites for their bold fashion choices and crowd antics. I went looking for the brothers, finding them down a random alley in Milan, treating the streets of this fashion capital as their own personal catwalk.
How do you guys figure out the outfits?
It's been quite a bit of planning, actually. We're keeping it classy today, as you can see, with the Peaky Blinders kind of vibe.
They say they've been Haley's biggest fans since day one.
Tommy, do you remember playing hockey with her growing up?
Yeah, I started on the backyard rink that our dad built for us. Haley was just a little tyke, skating around, pushing a bucket around, literally before she could even walk.
Go, girl. There you go. Come and get me.
Those are the days we all remember. That's where all of our love for the game grew.
And you guys really would cross-check her? Even though she's your little sister?
It was rough out there. There's actually a video of me pushing her over the boards into a pile of snow.
Oh! Now, they're ready to do their small part to help Team USA win gold.
I mean, we want to make it as difficult as possible to play against the USA. If it means distracting some attention, you know what I mean, getting loud, causing a ruckus, then I guess that's what we're going to do.
And showing me, anytime, any place, you know they're representing.
USA! USA! USA!
Those guys are so much fun. Go Team USA. All right, that does it for us tonight here in Milan. I'm Tom Llamas. Thank you so much for watching. Stay right there. More news on the way. We thank you for watching. And remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.